I'm here with Mickie Banyas. She is running for 1st District Congress for the U.S. Congress on the Republican ticket. And Mickie, first off, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was raised in Johnson City, Tennessee, but I've lived all over the world, and my father was in the Army, so that makes me an Army brat. But I did 8 years in the Navy. I was active duty in Bahrain with the 5th Fleet during 9/11, and when we did our strike against Afghanistan. And then in the Iraq War, I was a corpsman and legalman at the National Naval Medical Center in Bethesda, Maryland. I'm also an attorney here in Tennessee, and I've been a nurse for 30 years. And I've been an actress. And that helps me the most in running for office, because otherwise I'd be really scared talking to people or even doing this interview. But I just pretend I'm going on stage, and I just have to do it.
And why have you decided to run for election?
Well, I always wanted to run for office since I was a young girl. But people told me, Mickie, you have to wait till someone asks you. And I've been waiting all these years and no one's asked. So finally I looked in the mirror and I said, Mickie, will you run? And I said, yes. I asked myself. That's the most pivotal person you need to want to run for office is yourself, because it takes a lot of courage, energy, incisive thinking, and research to do it.
And what do you think is the biggest issue the United States is facing at this time?
Well, today you have found me when we're talking about immigration and those children on the border. I have the perfect solution. Why are not other countries stepping up to the plate for asylum for all these families? The AARP gave the 5 top retirement havens for U.S. citizens, and they were Mexico, Panama, Costa Rica, Ecuador. Why aren't those countries stepping up to the plate? We could offer them asylum in those countries, because I go to Merida, Yucatan for my dental work. I have a wonderful time. I feel so safe. I had dental work done for $20,000 U.S. price. I got it done for $1,200. These teeth, you can't see them, people, but I have beautiful teeth. Ask me to smile for you on the campaign trail. And I had a fabulous, safe time. And there were all these U.S. citizens, Brits, Germans, Canadians, all retiring in Mexico. So where is the need to rush to America for safety? There are plenty of places along the route to stop. We are being taken advantage of. This asylum law has got to change. And I agree with Trump. If the families are going to stay together, they should be deported together. I have been a pediatric nurse. I had to keep children in these metal cribs that were like little cages with a roof on them, a top. They were like 1 inch in diameter, the bars, when the parents weren't there. I mean, the children cried all day long. That's what children do. They like to cry. That's the way of communicating. But the parents had no choice. They had to leave because they had to either eat, maybe sleep, go to work, take care of other children. In this case, these immigrant families are being told you possibly could be separated by your children if you cross over this border. Or now that you've crossed over, you have the choice to go back to your respective country with your children. It is your choice if you're going to stay in this country and have you be separated by your children. This is not the U.S. asking them, begging people to come over here. It's their choice. And I say it is their choice. Their children could possibly be separated. And I do support this new bill by Paul Ryan. They want to keep families together. But still, I don't want them released, because 20 to 40% of people that are released, once they've crossed over and have been released into the community until they're come for trial, 20 to 40% don't come back. And that is a large amount of people. So that's today is my immigration leads to my concern about jobs. And that is my big concern for Tennessee. It's all about jobs. I am an economic nationalist. I am for U.S. citizens first. Everything is about U.S. citizens. We are being voted by U.S. citizens into office. Illegal immigrants are not voting us into office. They've got their own representatives in their own countries. Why aren't they addressing these immigrants' problems? If I were an illegal immigrant and from the respective country, I was complaining about my country was so unsafe, I had to leave, I'm scared I'm going to get killed. if I were a representative, an elected representative from that country, I would be so embarrassed. I would say, what can we do to make it safe for you? Please come back to our country. We'll provide you a safe haven in different parts of our country. I mean, even in Syria, I know contractors that fly in and out on commercial airplanes, and they say where they land seems perfectly safe. There's green havens within these countries. And it all goes back to jobs. Listen, that's robots and artificial intelligence that's creeping into our society. It's going to be affecting jobs, and it's happening slowly, and it's happening right under our nose, and they're taking jobs. And guess what? Migrant workers are going to be out of work because robots are picking crops. Their little hands. You can go to my site, Banyas for Congress. It's the number Banyas for number Congress.com. Under immigration, I've got pictures of these machines that pick crops, and they do it 24/7. They don't stop when the sun goes down. They're out picking the crops, and one day those jobs are going to be at risk. But right now, Steve Estabrook, the CEO of McDonald's, announced 1,000 kiosks are going to be entered into 1,000 McDonald's every quarter. So there goes 1,000 jobs for the teenagers and immigrant workers, or entry-level jobs. And I met a guy that works at Lockheed Martin. His job is to take care of the robot that replaced 15 workers. And that robot works 3 shifts, never calls off, never complains. So it's an employer's dream to have these. And did you know, even doctors they compared a robot doctor to a real doctor, and the robot doctor has a higher rate of proper diagnosis than the human doctor.
So you mentioned that jobs are the biggest issue for Tennessee. Is there anything else you'd like to say about that, or any other issues in Tennessee?
Well, we need about these H-1B visas that we're bringing people over from Europe and Asia, I mean, all over countries. And why don't we have our people trained for those skills? We shouldn't be requesting people from other countries to take those skills. We need our people trained here. And I like vocational schools. Start them in high school. These students can learn welding. They can learn electricity, plumbing. One of the best things I accidentally did was become a nurse. I became a licensed vocational nurse. That was the first thing I did out of high school. And that really secured employment because I can go into any state and get reciprocity. Where a lawyer, it's very tough. I have to take a new test. It makes you not want to move. So I really recommend vocational schools. And also I'd like to say, I worked myself through Harvard University as a maid and a receptionist. I mean, I did every job I could. So, and I just picked that school to go to and found out if you go to school there, you can practically go to school. I mean, if you work there, you can go to school practically for free. So I say people, or parents say, I can't afford to send my kid to college. Tell that kid to go pick out the college they want to go to and get a job there. I mean, it took me 6 years, but still I graduated with honors. I did hire tutors. I did what it took. It is possible to get an education in this country if you're willing to work hard. And that's one thing I have against DACA. I don't hear any of those recipients saying that they're applying for citizenship in all these years they've been here. And I'm thinking, are they not applying because they won't get free schooling? They won't get free medical care if they're a schmuck called a U.S. citizen? Is that why they're not applying? Because I had to work. I fell asleep in my car and in class because I was so tired. And I'm a U.S. citizen that's been paying my taxes, and I don't get these free things. And they'll say, oh, but this DACA student, look how he's become a doctor. He is so wonderful. He's a wonderful addition to our society. Hey, listen, there's a lot of U.S. citizens that could have become doctors if they had had a leg up too. If they had all this free access. They're nothing special because they were able to get this doctor's degree. They just had an opportunity that a lot of U.S. citizens don't have.
And what are your plans if you are elected?
Well, I want to do something about these H-1B visas. I want to see vocational schools bringing into high schools. A lot of teachers, they have extra skills. You wouldn't have to hire somebody else. Just say to teachers, do you have any extra skills on welding? Or is there anything else you could teach? So you could do it on another classroom setting. Or there's people that would volunteer. There's vets that would volunteer to come in. And I'm very, because I am a veteran, I am very interested in homeless vets. I don't like $1 to go to illegal immigration when I read there are 40,000 plus homeless vets in this country. Now, I have read about these 3D printed houses. They're $4,000 each. And I wrote to the company. Right now they're building a community in Guatemala. But I asked, could I pay for one? Could I start a community for homeless vets in our first district? And I haven't got a response yet, but this is what I'm interested in doing is I will pay for one. Then that vet pays me back. Well, it's like I pay it forward, then that goes into another house. And it's fantastic. It can be printed in one day. I mean, it's cheaper than renovating a house. And a lot of vets, they don't want to live in a big house, share housing with someone. They got PTSD. They want their privacy. In these little houses, we're one bedroom with their own bath and kitchen. I mean, it's amazing. That's one idea I've got. I just look at all the abandoned buildings in Kingsport and Johnson City. I think, wow, we could just renovate those, call Habitat for Humanity, and let's do something for veterans. They had the guts to sign on the dotted line, and a lot of people didn't. And a lot of people tell me, well, it's not necessary to have military experience when you're running for Congress. But for me, it is a priority when I look at a candidate, and I appreciate that in Phil Rowe and Todd McKinley, because only 20% of people in Congress have military experience. You make different decisions if you've been in a war zone. I had to take care of someone that was just a torso because he got in one of those bombs out there in Iraq. And I mean, that will always affect me in making a decision about going to war, about what we're doing with the VA, because I have real people in my mind. Nobody is a theory.
And is there anything else you'd like to say before we go?
I bet you I've got a million things to say. And I would just like to say about school safety. I am a pro Second Life. Pro Second Life. I am no, I was going to say into reincarnation. No. I am pro-life and I'm pro Second Amendment, but I'm also for protection with barricading in the sense of laws to more background checks, whatever we can do to help protect us. Because look, as an actress, I was stalked by someone when he was an adolescent and killed somebody. And he was free now, but there's always the threat. And I can pack and be the first one to pull out my gun, but if I'm not expecting it, he could be the first one. It's all about who pulls out their gun the first and who has the upper hand. And I say to NRA members, I say to anyone that is against any kind of increase in background checks, we're thinking of protecting you and your children. Because it's all about who pulls the gun first. They're putting up barricades for cars in New York City to prevent those crazy homicide drivers jumping the curb and killing people. Why can't we hold a gun and hold our shield at the same time and protect our children? I met a student that said he was so relieved it was summer school because now he doesn't have to worry about getting shot. Now that is something a soldier says coming back from Iraq. That is not what a student from Kingsport, Tennessee should be saying to me. I want a safer district for our students. I am pro Second Amendment. Do not get me wrong, because once a man in New York City jumped out at me with hose over his head, and I had my gun in my pocket. It was 7 a.m. Robbers and rapists, murderers do not sleep, it appears. Well, I pulled out that gun, and he just raised his hands and ran off. So I really believe in young women being taught how to protect themselves, because a gun is a great equalizer. But I also want protection with laws. And if someone tells me one more time, that's just cosmetic. Hey, the cosmetic industry is $1 billion industry. Why? Because image matters. Your facade, your presence of determination, of strength matters. There is a video that we're trying to get from going onto the market, and it's about pretending you're a school shooter. You're a gamer, and the one playing the game is the school shooter. It is so horrible. And I am horrified that someone even had the courage, the audacity to even design that, to offer it to the market. Look, that should not be protected by the First Amendment, because any speech that incites violence and is repugnant to the sensibilities of the community is not protected. And I say that video game is not protected and it should not come on the market. Thank you.
That was Mickie Lou Banyas. She is running for 1st District Congress on the Republican ticket.